Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and I'm looking at a book today from Law Society Publishing. It's a book we've reviewed before. It's an important book. It's called Lasting Powers of Attorney. It's this book here. It's now in a second edition, and it's written by Craig Ward. It's part of the Practical Guide series of legal handbooks from the Law Society. We've given it a title, A Practitioner's Guide and AIDE-MEMOIRE for Powers of Attorney, now in a new edition from the Law Society. This is the book here. It's quite a heavy book actually. That's the front cover and that's the back cover. It mentions, for instance, the case of Reed Collis, which is quite an important change on capacity. There's an interesting index at the back in nearly 500 pages. You can see that sort of index there. The book follows the standard structure. There's a very useful foreword by Leolin Price, Queen's Counsel, and a nice preface to give you an idea of what the book's about today in the new edition. Some cases, and then what you've got is, again, the standard structure of paragraph numbering, which is extremely helpful because that means you can find what you're looking for quite quickly. You do have, of course, a number of appendices at the back, not so many as is currently the position in some publications, but what we do is we start off with the Mental Capacity Act itself, and then there are various other appendices which are extremely useful concerning codes of practice and also various other things as statutory instruments, and then there is also the deeds of revocation, which is actually quite useful in terms of setting out what is actually there. We've given it the title, as I say, A Practitioner's Guide and AIDE-MEMOIRE. What we say is that since we reviewed the first edition of this work, it does actually cover many troublesome and sensitive areas, and Craig Ward's experience and background gives us, as practitioners, we feel, an excellent standby and AIDE-MEMOIRE in this specialised area of law. The author, Craig Ward, has revised and updated this book to what has become, in fact, an important and indispensable work, especially for practitioners who perhaps are conscious of their lack of experience, perhaps, in this somewhat difficult area of law, and would be looking for some sort of advice and guidance. Well, that's what you're going to get with that. And of course, with an ageing population, you could well find that this becomes a much more important area of your own practice. Let me give you a quote. This book, says Ward, will contribute at least some answers for solicitors searching for information on lasting powers of attorney. And that's in fact exactly what he's done since he produced the first book in 2008. There's a lot of new material in here as well, which I think is quite useful. Summaries of Court of Protection judgments in particular, dealing with severance of restrictions and conditions. I think that's a very important point. It's a practical guide which places within its more than 500 pages the expertise of its erudite and experienced author at your fingertips, and that's actually what you want. As I mentioned, you have the legislation which are in the appendices. Let me conclude by saying that if you're a practitioner involved in any way with lasting powers of attorney, Ward's excellent guide is, in our view, something which you really must have. This was published in August 2011. I'm recording this slightly later in the autumn, but it will keep you reassuringly up to date with what's actually happening in this area of law. So thank you to all concerned for an excellent new edition. Bye-bye.